There is a bottle of wine in Germany that is older than Christianity in Europe, older than the fall of Rome, older than every nation that exists today. And it is still sealed. No one has ever tasted it. No one dares to open it. So here's the question. Why does a 1,700-year-old bottle of wine still exist, when almost everything else from its world is gone? Tonight, we're opening the story, not the bottle. And what you're about to hear will change how you think about time, death, and the fragile things history somehow lets survive. It's 1867. Near the quiet town of Speyer, workers dig into the earth, searching for Roman graves. They expect bones, cracked pottery, coins eaten away by centuries of soil. They do not expect movement. Because when one glass vessel is lifted from the ground, cloudy, fragile, but miraculously intact, something inside shifts. Liquid. Still liquid. This isn't rainwater. This isn't groundwater. It's wine. And it has been waiting there since the Roman Empire ruled this land. Here's what makes that moment unbelievable. Wine does not survive like this. Not decades. Not centuries. Certainly not nearly 2,000 years. So how did this bottle defy everything we know about decay? To answer that, we have to go back to a funeral, held when Rome still believed it would last forever. The year is around 325 AD. Roman legions patrol the Rhine frontier. Villas dot the countryside. And in Speyer, a Roman nobleman has died. We don't know his name. History didn't care enough to preserve it. But we know this. He was important enough to be buried like someone who expected to keep living after death. Because Roman burials weren't about endings. They were about preparation. Food for the journey. Utensils for comfort. Coins for passage. And wine. Always wine. To the Romans, wine was more than a drink. It was status. Religion. Medicine. Civilization itself. Barbarians drank beer. Romans drank wine. So when this bottle is placed beside the nobleman and his wife, sealed carefully and lowered into the grave, it's meant to last as long as eternity itself. What no one at that funeral could imagine is that the bottle would outlive the empire that buried it. Because by every natural law, this wine should have vanished. Wine breathes. It reacts. It decays. Leave it exposed, it turns to vinegar. Seal it poorly, it evaporates. Store it wrong, it destroys itself. Even modern wine, protected by science and technology, rarely survives more than a century. Yet this bottle endures. And here's the part nobody tells you. This wasn't luck. It was Roman ingenuity. The bottle wasn't sealed with a cork. It was sealed with wax. Then the Romans did something quietly brilliant. They poured olive oil on top of the wine. A floating barrier. A liquid shield. The oil blocks oxygen. Slows evaporation. Buys time. Not thousands of years. But long enough. Long enough for the bottle to be buried, untouched, undisturbed. Until time itself became the final preservative. The Romans didn't know chemistry. But they understood reality. And there's another miracle here. The glass. Roman glassmaking was advanced, industrial, and precise. This bottle wasn't elegant by modern standards, but it was thick, uneven, and resilient. Built to be trusted. Underground pressure shifts. Soil moves. Roots invade. Water freezes and expands. Most ancient glass shatters. This bottle did not. Not because it was meant to be admired, but because it was meant to endure. Today, the bottle rests in the Historical Museum of the Palatinate in Speyer. Behind glass. Climate controlled. Still sealed. And visitors ask the same question every day. Why not open it? It's tempting. The oldest unopened bottle of wine in the world. But opening it would destroy it. The moment oxygen touches the contents, the chemical balance collapses. What little alcohol remains would vanish. The residue would degrade. And we would gain nothing. No flavor worth tasting. No ancient secret revealed. Just confirmation that time always wins. so the bottle stays closed. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Because the liquid inside isn't really wine anymore. It's acidic, oxidized, chemically transformed. But that doesn't matter. The value of this bottle was never about drinking. It's about connection. A physical link between hands that sealed it nearly 17 centuries ago, and eyes that look at it today. Think about what this bottle has witnessed: the fall of Rome, the collapse of empires, plagues, wars, the rise and disappearance of entire civilizations. It lay underground while languages died, while borders erased themselves, while belief systems rose and fell. And through it all, the bottle waited, unaware, unchanging. A message sent forward by people who believed their world would never end. They were wrong. But the bottle remained. Here's the final irony. The nobleman was buried with wine so he wouldn't be forgotten. Instead, the wine is remembered. And the man is not. History usually survives as stone, as weapons, as monuments built to intimidate time. But sometimes, it survives as something fragile. Liquid in glass, sealed with care, left alone. This bottle doesn't matter because it's old. It matters because nothing touched it. No looters. No wars. No renovations. Just silence. And silence, it turns out, can preserve more than power ever could. So let's return to the question we started with. Why does a 1,700-year-old bottle of wine still exist, when the world that made it does not? Because history doesn't only remember the loud. It remembers what was protected, what was sealed, what was left in peace. This bottle was never meant for us. It was meant for eternity. And somehow, it got exactly what it was promised. If stories like this fascinate you, take a second to subscribe. These quiet, unbelievable details of history are easy to miss, but once you see them, you'll never look at the past the same way again. Because sometimes, history doesn't shout. It waits.